Hey everybody, I'm Zach.
And I'm Jesse.
You're watching the Patreon bonus stories. So check this out, Jesse. You made a couple really cool Tesla light shows. How about this one? Huh? Could you have done that? Dual light shows?
That is a whole other level. I will be honest, that is a whole other level. Doing two light shows that have to play at the exact same time and stay synced and everything.
And did you notice these are UK cars, so they've got different, what are those called? The eyebrow lights, the little orange lights at the bottom.
We have turn signals right there.
No, but I mean, we don't have that same color that lights up.
Oh, yeah. The amber is,
the amber.
Much nicer.
Yeah. So you get even a different light show there, which is really cool. Anyway, kudos to them for making it because that was really fun. Do you think you might ever do like a dual or maybe a trio? Maybe
I could.
Maybe we could do like maybe a barbershop quartet where each car is a different,
we're getting into less and less people can technically do it because you either need to have a bunch of friends with Teslas or you and your wife and your
How
kids
about
need
this?
to have
This is a cool idea. It just hit me. You're at a supercharger where there's many Teslas.
True.
You pull in and there's some software that takes over and goes, would you like to be car number one? And you're like, okay. And you're car number two. And then it's like, in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you get out of your cars and you watch, and Tesla starts a light show with multiple cars.
That would be great.
Let's do it. If we were VPs of special operations, man, this would be on the list.
I would have rewritten how it does light show.
Oh, definitely.
It wouldn't be.
No, and we would have just pre-written songs that would be just, you'd have a menu of them and you'd call them up and,
Oh, yeah. Or you could just, we'd make a.
One of the songs would be Elon's, what was that song you did?
Don't Doubt Your Vibe.
Don't Doubt Your Vibe.
It would be that one. But I mean, yeah, I would also make a much better interface of how to write.
Can you do a light show to Don't Doubt Your Vibe? That would be cool.
I mean, I don't have the rights, but.
All right. So this is the kind of nuanced writing that Elon should be doing on his Twitter account, I think. Check this out.
Tesla CEO Elon Musk accused President Biden of ignoring his electric vehicle company and paying more attention to legacy automakers. He also sought to reassure White House officials, saying if he were invited to speak at the White House, quote, they would have nothing to worry about. I would do the right thing. Now, CNBC had contacted Musk regarding new reporting that President Biden and the White House have no immediate plans to invite Musk to potential upcoming meetings with corporate leaders. Musk said, quote, the notion of a feud is not quite right. Biden has pointedly ignored Tesla at every turn and falsely stated to the public that GM leads the electric car industry when, in fact, Tesla produced over 300,000 electric vehicles last quarter and GM produced 26. It got to the point, hilariously, where no one in the administration was even allowed to say the word Tesla. The public outrage and media pressure about that statement forced him to admit that Tesla does, in fact, lead the EV industry. I wouldn't exactly call that praise. I have nothing against Biden otherwise, apart from general concern about more deficit spending, which would apply to any president, and actively supported Obama-Biden's election. A White House official praised Tesla on Tuesday in an email to CNBC, saying Tesla has done extraordinary things for electric vehicles, and that's a big part of why the whole industry now knows EVs are the future. Well, I don't know, Joe. I mean,
I know
a lot of this
think.
came about, frankly, because we would question. I mean, how many times did I have to ask Pete Buttigieg on this show, what is happening here? This makes no sense. And then I had that conversation with Mary Barra at DealBook. Why are you going to these meetings and without Elon Musk?
You
the whole thing is crazy.
You immediately said what it was all about. The U word.
The unions. It's been a union story.
Yeah,
that's underneath this.
Okay. Before you have to basically pick your jaw up off the floor, that was CNBC.
Rewriting history, kind of.
What do you mean?
Well, do you remember back when we started the show?
Oh, yeah.
CNBC was master of FUD. Like,
sure.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, the masters of FUD, CNBC.
Yeah.
Any opportunity.
These two guys specifically.
Exactly. I mean,
they would be spouting all sorts of FUD about Tesla.
So then what they do is, this is amazing jujitsu that the mainstream media can do. Sure. At some point, I think it was around 2020, maybe 2019, as soon as basically Tesla has shown that, like, we're
many quarters of profitability on the S&P
we're for
500, continuing growth and breaking into new markets.
Then all of a sudden you wake up one day and it's like 1984, where it's like, we were at war with Oceania. No, we've never been at war with Oceania. And these guys are like, I've always told you that Tesla's a great investment, just like Jim Cramer did it. Like, for years, Jim Cramer's like, I don't see how this company could ever go anywhere. Then boom, he flips.
I mean, he flipped, but he did admit that he was wrong. And he did. He did.
I did.
So to give
not.
him some credit, I would say that.
But anyway, these guys, amazing how now they're taking credit for being like the saviors of Tesla and being like, Biden has pointedly ignored Tesla and how dare he? It's like, you guys did that.
I just want to point out one thing, one little detail.
And they didn't admit that, by the way.
I know. Okay. All right. Calm down. Well, what I'm saying is, what the important, I think, message of this actual story is, what happened here? Elon sent a letter to CNBC, or it was an email probably, sent a letter to CNBC stating his thoughts in a concise, well-written manner.
Not 140 characters.
It's a nice quote. Nice. They can break it down into chunks, talk about the different stuff, and they chose to go with it.
Well, because here's the thing. Anytime Elon says anything, it's news. So, Elon, if instead of sitting on the toilet and writing a little tweet, you actually spent a few minutes thinking about it, maybe had a helper. Mm-hmm. You can have a helper. It's okay. To help you, maybe even hand off your sentence to someone else who's a writer and say, like, this is what I want to say. And they add a few adjectives and verbs so that when you write it out, it makes a lot more sense and that the average person can understand it. Now, look, I'm not trying to talk down to you, Elon. And I know you're not even watching this. What I'm saying is, if he did this, he would gain a lot more support. Because what does a leader do? A leader doesn't get up in front of a crowd and say a bunch of stuff and mumble and like not make sense, and people kind of walk away going, I don't know what he's talking about. A leader gets up there and commands your attention, gets you excited, gets you behind a movement. That's what he needs to do more of, I believe. I also think that Elon should keep his Twitter account, use that for certain things, but he should have alternate accounts where he doesn't admit that it's him. And follow me on this. I think right now he owns the Bored Elon Twitter handle. He should have ones like that, where when he's bored, sitting on the toilet, he can tweet whatever the hell he wants, and no one will actually be able to prove that it's him. So if he puts out a meme of Hitler, they'll be like, well, on Bored Elon account it said this, but we don't know for sure that it's Elon. Us in the know, we can all be like, yeah, that's Elon. But that way the mainstream media can't. He can still get his thoughts out, but without having to be held accountable.
The blue check mark is a blessing and a curse for Elon. I think for most people, it's this thing that you want to attain. He's way above that. He's way above the blue check mark. He doesn't need it. No. And
he should keep his blue check mark account for things where he wants to tweet something out.
Exactly. For big announcements, for important. I mean, I honestly think, his tweets back and forth with, the president of Ukraine, great. That's a great public image thing.
But here's the problem. This week is a good example. He's tweeted out, and we're going to talk about it in Tweets of the Week. He tweeted out that, he's helping Ukraine with Starlink. Okay, but he's also tweeted out, as you're going to see in Tweets of the Week, so much other stuff this week alone that no one can follow what the hell he's saying. There's just too much crap in there.
So and again, it's not that we don't like Elon. It's not that we don't love, actually. It's so great to have Twitter and to have direct insight into Elon's brain. I like it, and I think that most people watching like it, and most people like the way that Elon talks, and most people who like Elon, again, that's the qualifier here, most people who like Elon don't mind all of his little quirks. We can all look past it because we understand what he's doing. And so most people, I know that I'm basically talking to people who don't really find fault with most of what Elon is doing. The problem is most of everybody else is going to find fault with it, and that is going to lead to problems because Elon has been, and he is, a fairly large figure in the world, and he attracts a lot of negative attention. And any way that he can attract less negative attention on himself is going to lead to a better outcome for his companies, for himself. Stuff that's going on with the SEC, I think that a lot of it goes away if he doesn't tweet about very important things. If that was on a plausibly deniable Twitter account that you can't back up to him, and even if you did, and he was like, we proved that it was Elon, he can say, well, nobody knew that it was me.
If bored Elon tweeted out, should I sell my stocks to pay my taxes? He could just go, well, that's not me.
That's not me.
But
then,
we would
even if we get to the court case and they subpoena Twitter and they find out that it was Elon, the defense can be, well, nobody actually verifiably knew that it was me at the time. So how can you really say that would be, insider trading or X, Y, or Z?
Exactly.
The positive thing that I want to take away from this is that if Elon continues to write well-written little letters to the press, I think that that's the way that he should do it. Yeah, don't have a PR department who's going to spout off a bunch of nonsense. That was great. It had exactly what he wanted to say in it. He put it in exactly the way that...
And he wrote to them.
He wrote to them, and so then they're all flattered. They're like, oh, Elon Musk wrote to us.
And they can't ignore it.
Which is all they want.
Well, also they can't ignore it. If the news story is that Elon writes to CNBC, they have to talk about it.
Exactly. And you get people on board. And what did he not say? What did Elon not say in that entire thing? He didn't mention unions once.
Right.
They brought up unions for him. Exactly. And so people watching, they're not mad at Elon. If they're pro-union, they're not mad at Elon.
Right.
They're going to be mad at these CNBC hosts. Well, they said that the unions were the reason they do. Elon got off scotch-free. That is a big brain move right there.
Right.
That's all you have to do, and continue to do that. And I don't know. I think that would work really, really well. Is it going to work for every news agency? No. But you have these two guys who are now on CNBC who are kind of fans of Elon, probably because they've driven the freaking cars by this point.
Also, you stoked their ego. You wrote to them.
Exactly.
So they're like, oh, he wrote to us.
He wrote to us directly. It's not some PR department where we can bash this and that. They go, oh, Elon, a rich guy.
But he actually put it in words that are understandable. He didn't try and do this kind of modified language that he does on Twitter a lot of times where people, like you're going to see this week. And I just want to talk about, we've moved Tweets of the Week to Patreon bonus stories. Why? Because weeks like this, where Elon just tweeted so much stuff, normally we have to just bing, 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 bing. Yeah. And we can't stop and talk about some of those tweets because it just would take too long.
Right. Here, the show would end up being 2 hours
Here
long.
We're going to break it out into its own Tweets of the Week Patreon bonus stories.
You can watch it whenever you want.
And that way, if you want to really see inside Elon's mind, because look, that is, to me, one of the most powerful things about Tweets of the Week is that if you look at it in a whole totality, you are actually getting a lot of Elon's thoughts throughout the week. Some of them are silly, some of them are him ranting, but you kind of get the whole picture of him during the week. Mm-hmm. It's a story, and that narrative takes time to tell. So that's why we're doing it here on Patreon. We hope you appreciate that, and we hope that you like that we've made the other show a little bit shorter. because Jesse was pointing out that does tend to make it longer some weeks.
Yeah. And I mean, maybe it'll just give us more time to rant about corruption in our government, because that's all this week's Tesla Time News seemed to be about.
All right, let's move on to Faraday Future. Let's play a bit here from Faraday Future's big first production intent FF91 completion video.
YTV as IAI test team are responsible for validating the end-of-line process functionality for all the IAI components.
Brent, Bobby.
Can you fix the audio on
the
that?
audio. I mean, maybe you messed that up.
Oh no, hang
a
on.
little bit.
I'm hearing that wasn't them. That was the live stream.
Wait,
They can't fix that. That was how it was broadcast.
Can we watch?
In fact,
let me see another clip.
Okay.
Karsten? Matt, let us know what you think of the first ever satin paint application painted by our Hanford team in our paint validation booth.
What do you think? Did you do a good job?
Absolutely great job. The first of many.
Let's have a look. So you have to look at it to the right angle. So like that looks cool.
Yeah. See, that's. In fact, I read the comments on, and almost everyone was complaining about it because it's like that was ridiculous. Let's go to this clip.
Okay. Go, Mac.
And this one.
You here. So I would like to welcome all of you, and to those who have been here before, welcome back.
And then my favorite one is with the CEO in the car. Check this out.
Do you see those cones up ahead?
Yes, since our FF91 has two independently controlled rear drive units, for more agile handling, this should be a breeze.
I agree. Let's find out.
Yeah,
We are approaching the dynamic testing area.
yeah,
First thing we're going to do is go through some cones in a slalom pattern.
yeah.
And then we're going to follow up with the short autocross section.
Okay,
Ready?
ready.
Okay. There we go. Do some slaloms. Quick 180. Really gets that rear steer working.
Yeah,
I think they fixed the audio at this point.
I think they fixed it because that was like that was shot at a different time. So the audio is better, but did you see that? They're reading off scripts. Now that we read off a script too, so I'm not making fun of that. I'm saying though that if you're going to read off a script, you should maybe either rehearse it or make it sound a little more natural. Because like if I was reading off a script and it was like, now we are going to Patreon bonus stories, you'd stop watching the show.
Absolutely, Zach. We are. I'm so excited to be doing that. It just doesn't sound right. And it,
You know, ever since Faraday Future released their first thing, I think it was in Las Vegas years ago, and we've just been down on the company, and a lot of people have always said to us like, oh, well, there's an electric car company, Zach and Justin, you guys are such hypocrites because, I mean, they were trying to do the right thing. And we're like, yeah, no, that part of it's great. I love that they're not making ICE vehicles. What it is, though, is that there's something wrong about this company. There's just so much hype, so much crap. Again, videos like this show you that there's something wrong. You may not be able to put your finger on it, but there's just something wrong with the
I can
leadership.
put my finger on it.
Go for it.
So you have the CEO in the car. He doesn't speak English very well. Look, if I was in China and I was the CEO of the company and I had to speak Chinese, I would do a terrible job. But you know what I would say? I shouldn't be in the car.
Right.
I'll do a presentation where you film me and I'm going to make a ton of mistakes and you're going to have a Chinese interpreter with me and they're going to go, no, you say, Li Peng. And I go, oh, okay. I'll
Or just
fix
do it in
that.
English and have translator translate. I mean, whatever.
Right.
Like, there's certain things you just can't do.
Why not have him speak Chinese and just put subtitles? Maybe people don't like to hear Chinese. I would argue people don't like to hear English that isn't well spoken. It just doesn't come across well.
Or with feeling. Like, I don't really care how you pronounce anything if you feel it, but if you're reading off a script and then when they're driving and it's like, okay, now we're going to do a slalom course at 5 miles an hour? What the heck is that? If you look, you should just watch. If you have 25 minutes, watch the video just to laugh your head off, because that is.
I couldn't really stand to watch it because the audio is so bad.
Yeah.
If you've learned anything from this, it's that audio is super important. If we sounded like this, if this is how the show sounded.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a tell-all when you can't even get that right. And then in the comments, they weren't like, "Oh my God, here's what went wrong." They're like, "Well, we'll work on that in the future."
Yeah,
it's like
you can't fix what you've already done. Like,
and no one noticed it when you're doing the live stream.
And I mean, I understand. My guess is that they had all the audio levels right, and then they fed it into the computer, which is supposed to live stream it up to the world. And that was where the problem was.
Sure, but don't you have someone? When we do a live stream, we have someone in our team watching the live stream,
and they send us,
and we even ask you. A lot of times we're like, "How's it sound?"
Right.
And they're like, "Oh no, you're too soft, Zach." Okay, we turn it up.
Yeah.
Like, did they not have anyone telling them, "You sound like crap, guys"? In the first 30 seconds.
I mean, for minutes and minutes and minutes through the presentation, it just, to me, smacks of incompetency. And I think that's the kind of people who are going to stick at that company. Okay,
next story.
Yeah.
So let's look at this. This is from German, translated to English. Federal Motor Transport Authority initiates test procedures against Tesla for autopilots. That's translated from German, so it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But basically, German motor authorities are basically looking into, problems with lane changing on Tesla vehicles. And I'm like, that's weird. Don't German cars have lane changing? Like, we drove the VW ID4 with lane assist on highway, and we tested it, remember?
Right. And it kept us in our lane, but it wouldn't change lanes for us. We would have to change the lanes ourselves.
Wait, so German car companies don't have a lane change assist program?
Right. I mean, we drove the top of the line VW product, and it didn't have lane change. Now, maybe they just didn't turn on, but I don't think they have.
All right, so this story makes way more sense now, right? I'll bet anything that German car companies reached out to their government puppets and said, "You have to stop Tesla," and hence the investigation begins.
Right.
And I know I have no proof of this. I'm not in the back room somewhere where this took place, but this is definitely what's happening.
Right.
Why would you want to focus on a company that's making safer vehicles? Well, because the competition doesn't have that technology.
Right.
Could they have been working on that technology? Sure. Were they? Maybe they couldn't pull it off. Or maybe they were like, why bother? Just keep putting better cup holders, and that's what we'll give the stupid consumers every year.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset about this. If Tesla's lane changing was smashing them into poles and making them really dangerous, I'd be like, oh my God, we have to stop that. Lane changing is a dangerous thing to do. When you need to change a lane, you better not change into the lane where there's a car, right? Or a person or a bike.
Mm-hmm.
Tesla's lane change helps the driver because, I mean, you've only got two eyes. You got to keep your eyes pretty much on the front of the road. So when you glance to the side, you got to make it fast, right? That's, I mean, right? Am I right here? A lot of us just stay in one lane for most of our trip because we don't even want to change lanes.
And there's blind spots from where you sit in a car.
Exactly.
Which Tesla doesn't have a problem with.
So if you don't know, in newer Teslas that have all the cameras, not only does it sense with ultrasonics if there's something in the lane next to you, but it has a camera that looks there, shows you that camera, and makes it totally safer to change lanes. Now, German authorities want to be like, Well, that's hypocrisy, okay? That is not what government is for. Government should not be to stop you because you're out ahead of the competition. Government should be there to make sure everyone's safe. It's obviously safer. The data shows that it's safer. It's just that BMW, Mercedes, and VW don't have this technology, so they talked to their friends in the German government and got them to go, hang on, we'll slow them down.
Which means that, and you have to look at the alternative. So now, okay, we're going to make humans drive the cars and make the lane changes. Now, I know that I'm not on German roads. I know that Germany has much better testing and training for drivers. I think that that's awesome. I can only talk about my experience. I've seen plenty of lane changes that definitely should not have happened, and in many cases either led to very dangerous situations involving me or other cars on the road, where people just start changing lanes and they don't, and then they go, whoa! And that whoa could easily be a whoa, where they start screeching around and smashing into stuff.
And look, let's be honest. In some number of years from now, probably less than 10, we're going to look back and go, humans drove cars. Because it doesn't make sense that we drive cars when computers can do it better. And we're getting to the point now where computers can do it better. So this is just delaying the inevitable, and worse, you're killing people. Let's just be clear about it. If you stop a technology that is safer than humans, you are killing people. You're putting people in hospitals that don't need to be there. So German authorities, you. I am so sick of this bullshit that all these governments do. I wish that we would all just stand up to them when we read stories like this. If you live in that country, reach out to your government and tell them that it's bullshit and don't stand for it.
Right.
Okay, we got to move on. I'm going to lose my mind. Thank you for being our patrons. Thank you for supporting us. This week, you're going to find Elon's Tweets of the Week as a separate video that you can watch, where it's going to be a little longer than normal because A, Elon tweeted a lot this week, and B, there's a lot more we'd like to talk about. We'll see you there. Now you know.